Okay,
All
so
right.
you were
Well,
telling me who's this woman again? That person that got in your face?
so she's a political minder from D.C. She told me she was the senior advisor to the commissioner of Customs and Border Patrol. And she was clearly sent down there to try to stop us from taking pictures, taking video, letting the American people know what was happening there. And so the Biden administration, as you know, has been blocking press. They refused to allow any press into the facility. By the way, that is not normal. I've been down to the border many times. I've been in detention facilities. In the Trump administration, they allowed press in. In the Obama administration, they allowed press in. They did also in the George W. Bush administration and the Bill Clinton administration. But Joe Biden has decided that these pictures would be too damaging politically, and so he's barred all press. And she was there when senators would take out their phones to take a picture or shoot a video. She would jump in front of them. She'd yell at them. She'd threaten them. And it was clear that her job was, under no circumstances should you allow the American people to see what Joe Biden is doing here.
Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, when they say in D.C. the border's closed, it's actually close to the media, close to cameras is probably what they mean up in D.C. Senator,
Well, and a lot of the reporters are very docile and happy to accept those restrictions, and I've been encouraging them do their job. This media blackout is shameful, and Joe Biden is counting on the media to be complicit in the cover-up, because that's what they're trying to do, is cover up this humanitarian disaster. It's a public health disaster, and it's a national security disaster. And I'll tell you, the Valley in South Texas is paying the price.
these kids that are in federal custody right now, they need to go somewhere. You can't keep them forever. I know we have lots of convention centers in this country and activity centers. Well, maybe that's what they want. Maybe they want to fill every single convention center since we don't have conventions right now. I don't know. But they got to go somewhere. We have a foster care system in this country that's already overtaxed. We don't have enough foster families. And we're now putting the burden on states. We're going to put the burden on states. No one is addressing that issue.
So the Donna facility, as you know, is a tent city that's been built to deal with the surge. It was built to accommodate 1,000 detainees. With COVID restrictions, its capacity is 250. When I visited the facility, there were over 4,000 people there. The Biden cages, the kids, they weren't 6 feet apart. They weren't 3 feet apart. They were lying side by side, touching each other. They were that close. There are no beds. There are no cots. They're lying on the floor, covered in reflective emergency blankets. The COVID positivity rate in that facility is about 10%. And so the Biden administration, in the middle of a pandemic, is cramming these kids in. You know, you talked about convention centers. Yesterday, I was up in Dallas. In Dallas, I went and visited the Kay Bailey Hutchison Convention Center downtown. The Biden administration has transformed that into a detention facility. And so there's one giant room. It is the size of 3.5 football fields. So it's a big convention center room. Just about every square inch of the room is covered by cots, side-by-side cots. The cots at least are spread 6 feet apart, so there's more space there. And there are 2,200 cots just covering this massive room. At the KBH Center, it is only young boys aged 13 to 17. And the numbers keep coming and coming and coming. The Biden administration right now has over 16,000 children in its custody, and those numbers are growing every single day.
You wait till China, folks in Asia and Africa figure this out, that the border's open. We're just getting started. We got 3 years and 9 months left, Senator. This is unsustainable.
It is profoundly dangerous, and I'll tell you, Sergio, they've already figured it out. As I've talked with Border Patrol agents, and I went to their 10 p.m. muster, and then I joined them on midnight patrol, they said more and more of the people coming across the border, they're not just Central Americans, they're not just from Mexico, but they're seeing people from Africa, they're seeing people from China and from Asia, and it is dangerous because the message has come out that the border is open. They're seeing a substantial number of people from Cuba and from Haiti, because everyone knows now that under Joe Biden, if you cross the border, he's going to let you stay. And it is the deliberate political decisions Joe Biden has made that has caused this crisis. This was preventable. That's what makes you really angry. This is a man-made disaster. And it was three decisions Biden made in the first week of office that caused this crisis. Number one, he immediately halted construction of the border wall. Number two, he reinstated the failed policy of catch and release, so that now when they apprehend someone, they give them a court date, they let them go, and most of those people never come back. And number three, most inexplicably, he ended the international agreement Remain in Mexico that President Trump had negotiated in Mexico, that people from Central America crossing illegally through Mexico would remain in Mexico while their U.S. asylum cases were pending. That landmark agreement resulted in last year the lowest rate of illegal immigration in 45 years. We had policies that were working and working well, and Joe Biden, for partisan political reasons, ripped that agreement with Mexico to shreds and caused this crisis, and it's getting worse.
Senator Ted Cruz, my guest. Before you called, Senator, I was talking with Ponchi Ildefonso Ortiz, my friend from Breitbart.com. He does border news. I got him in the studio, and let me get a question from him real quick to you. Go ahead, Ponchi.
Well, Senator, in your your visits to the border and everything you've seen, have you learned a little bit about what is it or how is it that drug cartels are the ones that are really profiting from all this, instead of just it being a human or a political issue? This is more of a profit issue for drug cartels.
Sure. Now, they are making massive amounts of money. We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars that they're charging people or unaccompanied minors anywhere from $3,000 to $4,000 to $5,000 to $6,000 to come across the river. As you know, nobody crosses the river without the cartels, without paying the cartels, without the cartels trafficking them across. And it's a massive money-making venture. And you know, when we went on midnight patrol, we went right down to the banks of the Rio Grande. And as we were there with our flashlights on the other side of the river, we could see multiple smugglers. They had high-power flashlights where they were shining them at us and they were yelling at us. I assume they thought we were Border Patrol agents. And the agents told us that happens every night, where they scream and taunt the Border Patrol agents and essentially say, you can't stop us. And the reason that they can't stop the cartels is because Joe Biden won't let them, that politically he's not allowing the Border Patrol to do their jobs, and it's frustrating and it's maddening and it's not right.
Well, the Cartel Employee of the Month, I suppose we could nominate Joe Biden for that. At this pace, he's going to wind up being the Cartel Employee of the Quarter, and maybe he's angling to be the Cartel Employee of the Year for these guys. Senator, you keep making noise because, well, the mainstream media is only doing so much, hardly anything that's necessary. This message needs to get to Middle America and to other parts of the country, and it's going to take leadership because we have a leadership vacuum right now in Washington. And we need some leadership messaging this to the American people.
I'm going to keep shining the light. This trip to the border, as you know, I took 19 senators down there. It was one of the biggest congressional delegations ever. A number of those senators had not seen the border, so they got to see firsthand what's happening. And listen, border security also at the heart of it, it goes to the issue of U.S. sovereignty, which is something that I care deeply about. Last year, I wrote my latest book, which is entitled One Vote Away, How a Single Seat on the Supreme Court Can Change History. And there's an entire chapter in One Vote Away about U.S. sovereignty, and it brings readers inside stories at the Supreme Court about litigating some of the biggest landmark cases. And Sergio, you'll remember one of the biggest cases that I argued and won before the Supreme Court was the case of Medellin versus Texas, where Jose Ernesto Medellin was a Mexican national who crossed illegally into the United States, who participated in the gang rape and murder of two teenage girls in Houston. And the case went all the way to the World Court when Mexico sued the United States with the World Court and tried to get the United Nations to order the U.S. to release 51 murderers on death row across the United States. And I stood up and fought the United Nations and the World Court. I fought 93 foreign nations. And we won. I won a 6-3 victory upholding U.S. sovereignty, where the Supreme Court said that no foreign court has authority over the U.S. justice system, and no president of the United States, Republican or Democrat, can give away our sovereignty.
How easily we surrendered it Just one administration. And we got 3 years and 9 months to go in Chihuahua. All right. Thank you, Senator.
God bless.
Ted Cruz, our junior senator from Texas. Time is 10:33. The Sergio